So here's what's going on here. As 2018 elections near, potential 2020 presidential candidates jockey for money. Democrats preparing presidential runs in 2020 are waging aggressive fundraising campaigns this year, meeting with wealthy donors over private meals and spending millions of dollars to build up their online donor networks. And here, of course, is the main dude, Joe Biden. CNN published an article recently. They said Bernie Sanders was like 5th or 6th on the list. Why is he so low on the list? Because he's an old white guy. Who's number 1, though? Joe Biden. That makes sense, huh? The early jockeying reflects concern that the sheer number of interested candidates will create a fundraising bottleneck in early 2019. We just don't have enough money for all these candidates to go. What are we going to do? What are we going to do if the fundraising goes to too many people? I mean, in the last election, we outspent Trump 2-1 and still lost. Maybe we need to outspend him 3-1, and that'll assure that we win. Maybe 4-1 or 5-1. I think we need to throw more money at the problem. And the Democrats are just a fiscally irresponsible, business person at this point. Have you ever met, I'm sure you've had a boss in your life or something like that where they have a lot of means for whatever reason and they just keep throwing money at their problems thinking that's going to fix everything, and then eventually they go under because they're just like, well, I know how to fix this problem, let's throw more money at it. No. You need to think, and you need to come up with an actual solution to this problem. This requires brain energy. You can't just keep throwing money at the problem. You can't keep... All right, I'll bring up this for instance. So, there was this chain of entertainment complexes called Latitudes. And they had one in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They had one in Indianapolis. They had one in Jacksonville. And it was just this huge entertainment complex. And they had arcade games. And they had a restaurant. And they had live music. And they had comedy shows. And it was just this huge building. And the only reason I know about this is because they had comedy shows. And this was when I was on the road full time. So I would perform at these things. And I would go to these things and I'm like, there's no way they're making any money. They were so ridiculously overstaffed. It was unbelievable. And what were they overstaffed with? Security people. They had about 5 or 6 security people per floor. Just standing there and they had their badges and stuff. And first of all, nothing says, I'm going to go party in the nightclub like wall-to-wall security freaking everywhere. And another thing they had this recreation of an ESPN football booth. And it didn't do anything, by the way. It wasn't like an interactive thing, like you could press a button and it would play a footage of a legendary game or something, or it wasn't like you put a quarter in and you could get a fun photo op or a selfie. It did nothing. It was just a model there, and it was bright as hell. I can only imagine the electric bill on that alone, and it was always on, and it just sat there. It did nothing. So there were so many things that were just a waste of resources. Now, the brain behind all this was in Pittsburgh. And, this guy had this vision, but it kind of seemed like they just gave a 5-year-old unlimited money. And they were like, build your paradise. And that's what he did. And whenever problems would arise, he would just keep buying more stuff. He would just keep buying more stuff and throwing it into the place. Hey, we're not getting a ton of attendance. Maybe we need to make our food a little higher quality. I bring that up because their food wasn't so great. Maybe we need to have a little less security guards. It was just ridiculous. But they didn't do any of that. They just kept spending more and more money. So eventually the whole thing went under. I bring this up. I was like, that's the Democrats. They just have this big pocketbook. And they just keep throwing money at stuff. Why? Because it's corruption 101. They spend the money so they get more of it from the donors, and the cycle continues. So that's what they're doing. You know what would help them win? Actually having a platform. But anyway, I kind of went off on a tangent. Let's get back to this article. More than 24 people are in the process of exploring campaigns to take out President Trump, but only a handful have relationships with wealthy donors, significant personal wealth, or small dollar fundraising. What about the one of them who's the most popular politician in the country? Why aren't you mentioning that? How about you mention one of them is the most popular politician in the frickin' country right now? Why aren't we saying that? I would say you have to have a path at raising at least $15 million or $20 million in the first quarter, said Juliana Smoot, a Democratic consultant who oversaw then Senator Barack Obama's 2008 effort. Listen to this article. That presents an acute threat for candidates who have not established national fundraising operations, an advantage that will be held by two potential candidates, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. For the first time since 2004, there is no established inside frontrunner like Hillary Clinton before the 2008 and 2016 races and Barack Obama before his 2012 re-election. Hillary Clinton was the frontrunner only in the establishment. It's hard to take articles like this seriously, considering Bernie Sanders just proved the model. Bernie Sanders almost won, would have won had the establishment not cheated him. And he did so pretty much $27 at a time, more or less. Hillary Clinton outspent Donald Trump 2-1, still lost. Does money still buy elections? Absolutely. But is fundraising the only game in town? Is money the only game in town? No, it's clearly not. The right message and getting that message out the right way is also very valuable. And really, if you want to win, it's just as important. If you give people nothing to vote for and only something to vote against, you can throw all the money in the world at your campaign. There's a good chance you're still going to lose. Hillary Clinton proved that. Sorry, she did. She gave people nothing to vote for. She gave people something to vote against. I'm not Trump. Vote against Trump by voting for me. That's not enough to win. Our contemporary politics have proved the only time that is enough to win is if your opponent is literally a pedophile. In Alabama, with Doug Jones. So, if your opponent is a pedophile, and you stand for absolutely nothing, and you can just point and say, I'm not a pedophile. Your options are a pedophile or not a pedophile. I'm Doug Jones. I approve this message. You might be able to squeak by about 1.5 percentage points. So what Doug Jones won by. He beat a pedophile by 1.5 percentage points. If that man had any self-reflection, he would have retired the next day and handed it over to somebody else, or they would have just actually had a new election with a candidate that was worth voting for. But, I mean, how you can look yourself in the mirror and think, I barely beat a pedophile. I am less than 2% more inspiring than a pedophile at my job. And, what has he done? He's assisted Trump since he's been in office. He's gone along with Trump. He is a full member of the assistance. He's not the resistance. He's the assistance. And the other side of this is you see, I've seen some campaigns where people just clearly don't have anything together, and they're not even running a serious campaign. Sometimes they don't even have a website. So that's the other side to this, too. So, we'll see who some of these 2020 frontrunners are. I think they're going to try to force Biden down our throats, or I think they're going to try to force Kamala Harris down our throats. I predict one of those. I predict the establishment is going to go with one of those. I'm leaning towards Kamala Harris over the two, but we'll see. Who do you guys think are some of the frontrunners? Who are some of your guys' predictions? But yeah, I think it's going to be... I think they're going to try to force Kamala Harris or Joe Biden down our throats. And again, I'm also sticking to the one prediction that I made where, Kamala Harris said, I'm not taking any corporate money. She's saying that right now when it's politically convenient for her. She's not going to be saying that when push comes to shove, because she's going to say, but Trump, and then she's going to start taking it again. That would be my prediction. And I guarantee you, if Biden's the guy, we're guaranteed 8 years of Trump. If Biden is who they run, I do not think Biden will beat Trump. Kamala Harris, she may or may not beat Trump. I sincerely hope they don't run her. She's a corporatist, and I guarantee she would be a disappointing president. But she might beat Trump. I don't know. It's tough to say this early on. Joe Biden, just based on everything about him, I can't see him beating Trump. Kamala Harris, just because she's younger and probably has broader appeal than a Joe Biden, maybe. It's tough to say. Balthazar, Hillary Klingon, still hasn't found her humanity. Marcus, is Bernie's the left's counter answer to Reagan? If by that you mean Bernie could win, yeah, I think so. I think Bernie would win. I think Bernie would have beat Trump in 2016. I think Bernie will win if he runs in 2020. He's still in many ways the face of this movement. Is he flawed? Abso-freaking-lutely. Is he perfect? No. Do I agree with every decision he's made? No. Do I wish we'd be working on a new party right now that he's the face of? Yes. But that's not where we're at. Let me see what you guys are saying. Kamala Harris is Obama 2.0. You think Oprah? Wow, people are saying Oprah. I don't think Oprah wants to run. Biden could win, but the people could lose. Maybe, Rick. I don't think Biden could win. Gardenome agrees, though, that Biden could win. I won't be voting for Biden, but he could beat Trump, Gardenome says. Tim is behind D's Nuts 2020. Tim, D's Nuts has got my vote as well. Blue Dogs are paid to lose, Mike S. says. Daniel says Biden versus Trump is a nightmare. I totally agree. But I don't think Biden would beat him. I really don't. First of all, Trump's base is ticked off. And they're going to be even more ticked off by 2020. I think the midterms are going to have mixed results. I don't think there's going to be a huge blue wave, but I do think that Trump fatigue is going to lead to some pickups by the Democrats. So it's going to be more hyper-partisan, even more so than it is now. Joe Biden is inspiring to pretty much nobody. He's likable on screen, yes, I will give him that. And again, this is just me being objective. You know, like I said on Aggressive Progressive, you completely put policy aside. Joe Biden, just as a dude on the screen, is likable. Now, of course, they can take that away with all that creepy Uncle Joe stuff because he's just kind of a creepy old dude. So they're going to really be able to run with the creepy old dude thing, and that'll hurt him. So even just what little likability he has, they can probably take away from him. So, yeah, I don't see Biden winning. I see Biden losing. Kamala Harris, it's tough to say with her because I can't, like, we've never seen her on that stage before. We've never seen her in that big of a spotlight. So it's tough to say how she would or wouldn't fare. Biden we have seen in that spotlight before. He was vice president. So I think there's no chance Biden wins. Balthazar says no amount of ice cream will make Biden win. I can tell you this. If it's Biden versus Trump, I'm going to be eating a lot of ice cream because I'm going to need something to cope with it all.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? Getting on